Hey everybody, Rob Wargell here. I'm going to talk to you just for a quick minute about my favorite suppressors, and I've got my top three. So first off, let's start with my background. Okay, I spent time in the military contracting, blah. We're going to skip past that. If you want to read my bio, it's online. We're here to talk about silencers. Let's talk about silencers. Number one, my favorite silencer is going to be the Omega 300. This suppressor is made by Silencer Co. And the reason why I like it so much is it's compact, it's lightweight, it's mostly titanium, and it can go on almost any of my weapons. Modularity is a big thing. Having your suppressor that you can buy one and have it do all these jobs, I can appreciate the value in that. But once I have my silencer, I like giving it a specific task. Because while there are so many dual suppressors, like a dual sport motorcycle, sure they might do it all, but they don't do a very good job on any specific one. For a pistol, they're too heavy. For a rifle, they're too moving on. So the Silencer Co. Omega 300 is a fan favorite of mine for a long time. Now when I'm selecting that silencer, I'm looking at how quiet the suppressor is, which is really hard to tell by any decibel readings because that's not real world. That's not how my ears hear it, and that's not the environment it's in. So really it's more experience based. So with all the suppressors I've experienced, given its size and its sound suppression, I dig how quiet it is. Now on top of how quiet it is, it's modularity. Now a minute ago I said I don't want the most modular can in the world, but I do want a suppressor that can fit my specific needs. So what that means is I want interchangeable end caps, I want different mounting solutions, and I want to be able to pair it to a rifle that it can stay on forever or stay within that realm of rifles being shorter or 5.56 or etc. So end caps and mounting solutions. Now on mounting solutions, it's important that the suppressor obviously securely mounts to the weapon. So this is going to be an ASR mounting system or the chemo system or a direct thread. There's a whole lot of options in that department. Personally, I find that the Silencer Co. ASR system is kind of one of the better mounting solutions. Not only does it mount well, but it locks well, and it tends to not lock onto the weapon at the end of your day of training. In addition to that, they also have really good muzzle brakes. So I would say that the chemo muzzle brake is pretty neck and neck with the ASR muzzle brake. A lot of the other muzzle brakes in the industry I'm not such a big fan of, not just for their lack of securely mounting, but also the muzzle brake itself. So that's my number one suppressor. That is, again, the Silencer Co. Omega 300. My number two suppressor is the Air Nomad 300. So the Nomad 300 is very similar to the Omega 300 in size and weight and everything else. You might notice it's a little bit thicker in diameter. But what they did with this silencer, unlike their predecessors being the Sandman, is that this thread pitch will match the ASR mounting system. So you can be a Silencer Co. guy or a Dead Air guy, and now you can stick to one mounting solution for all of your weapons. So now I don't have to go change out the muzzle devices on everything I own. So I really dig that Dead Air did that, so I have compatibility on the rifles that I already have set. Because who wants to go spend $90 more per rifle to make this system play with this system? So I really dig the thread pitch they did on there. Now the additional bonuses with what makes this silencer shine is the reduced back pressure. So because it has reduced back pressure, you're getting a lot less gases in the face. So while there's an argument for on a carbine, I don't want back pressure, I don't want a suppressor, on a bolt action rifle, you're always going to want a suppressor. It's going to do a lot of benefits with very few cons. So the Dead Air kind of fills that gap of reducing that back pressure, staying lightweight, and you'll also find that there are less barrel length restrictions. Dead Air usually does no barrel length restrictions, and when you start looking at like the titanium model and some of those, yeah, you'll find barrel length restrictions. But on the standard model like this one, you won't find barrel length restrictions, and I super dig that. For example, like my B&T APC 223 is like a 9-inch gun, and most barrels are like 10 plus because you're looking at Mark 18s and beyond. So when you start stepping into those extra short guys, this can gets to shine over the Omega 300. So that's my two favorite rifle suppressors. Yes, they'll go up into Magnum calibers, 300 Win Mag, 300 PRC, etc. Make sure you read the tech specs on barrel length requirements so that you don't have a bad day. Now, moving into pistol suppressors, I'm really not a big fan of putting a suppressor on a pistol. I think that that's fun for the range and for toys and etc. But as far as real world operations go, it's unlikely I'm going to pull out my pistol because that's an emergency, and then take time to thread a suppressor on the end of my gun so I can handle my emergency. So where I see pistol caliber suppressors is on pistol caliber carbines or submachine guns. So on MP5s, on the B&T APC 9mm, so on and so forth. So the Omega 9K, it stays really short to the weapon. So when I add my PCC with my 6, 7, 8 inch barrel, I don't want another 6 inches of silencer because that's doubling my barrel length. whereas the Omega 9K keeps the overall very short package that I dig so much. Also in sound suppression, it's very similar to some of the full-size cans. So I'm a big fan of the Omega 9K. I also use the Griffin 3-lug mount. The reason I use the Griffin 3-lug mount is because it's recessed within inside the suppressor, where typically the piston, Nielsen device booster, whatever you want to call it, sits inside that suppressor. So now I don't have suppressor plus 3-lug adapter. It's all compressed into one to make for a very short package. All right, so here we have the 3-lug adapter, and you can see the 3 slots. Then you can see the 3-lug barrel. So what I'm going to do for continuity is I like to have the logo facing up so that every time I put my suppressor in the same place. Slides over the barrel, hits those 3 lugs, in, rotate, and into the lock position. You can see it's about a 1/4 turn rotation. You hear it snap into place. To remove it, I do the same process, in, rotate, and it slides right back out. A lot of different 3 lugs out there. This one, like I said earlier, being so recessed and tight, keeps my weapon overall very short. So there are several other suppressors that I have and love and shoot all the time, but in the end, when you make me pick my top 3, these are my top 3. Again, in no specific order, the Omega 300 from Silencer Co., the Dead Air Nomad 300, also check out their L and their TIs, those are cool as well, and then the Silencer Co. Omega 9K. That's been my top 3. Hit me up in the comments if you have any questions.